Okay, so there's a lot to say on Rosh Hashanah, and it's hard to just say so much in such a little amount of time. There's just so much involved with the Yontif. We already discussed a lot in the past about it. There's a tremendous amount of significance between every single step of Rosh Hashanah, the shofar, right? The nusach of the bracha is l'shmaya kol shofar, to listen, as opposed to lit kaya, to blow the shofar. So one idea is that we should listen to the messages that the shofar is coming to teach us. One idea that I heard recently is that the order of the blasts from the shofar are usually a tekiah, and then you have a shvarm in between, you have a trua, but then you go back to the tekiah after. So tekiah, al pi Josh, symbolizes when everything is going good. Shvarm is it's not as good, it stops. The trua, things are worse. But at the end, you see how even those things that were bad, so to say, were for good. It was tekiah. So obviously, there's a lot to say about that, but that's in there. Um, Now, in general, in terms of for my personal growth, I've been going through the Yarech Moadim and the second Chiluk on Drush. They're very long farm. They're very good. Rabbi Yerucham Ocean, Rosh Yeshiva of BMG in Lakewood. And I'll be honest, this year I went cover to cover on the Shavuos one with the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, Lag Bomer, all of the Sfira, that whole thing on the Drush one, the Chiluk base, and on the Bein HaMetzarim also, cover to cover. Now, I said to myself, I'm not going to push myself with all the other starim. I could either do Sukkes or I could do the Yom Noraim. I looked at just a few pieces on Yom Noraim, but I'm on pace to finish Sukkes now. 535 pages in.
Wow.
I've got another 100 pages or so. So I'm on pace. I'm going to finish it by Sukkot. I'm already up to, he has a lot of pieces on now, Hoshana Rabbah, and then Shmini Atzer Simchos Torah. So I'm already done with everything else. But the first mimer of this piece, I think, would be a classic to start with. And it definitely applies to Yamim Noraim and just this whole cycle that we're getting ourselves into right now with Yamim Tovim. He asks a question, what is the explanation of the order of the Yamim Tovim that we have here? This is first Maimer, opening Maimer and Sukkot. In the Haftarah on the second day of Sukkot, we lean from Sefer Malachim and Paraches. And the Pasuk says that Shlomo HaMelech gathered. He did a gathering. Yikalu al HaMelech Shlomo, Kol Ish, everyone was gathered. Ish Yisrael B'yerech HaIsonim. What does B'yerech HaIsonim mean? B'chag Chodesh Hashvi, 7th month, aka if you start the cheshbon of months from Nisan, beginning of the year. 7th month, according to that. So we see that Chodesh Tishrei is referred to Yerech HaIsonim. What does this mean? Yerech HaIsonim, what does this mean in the pasuk? So the Metzudas David over there, Kedarko, explains Kipshuto what this means. This means it comes from the language of strength. Chozek. Yerech HaIsanim. It's a very strong month. Why? Because Tishrei, says the Metzudas David, Heim Hama'adim Hayoser Chazakim Umeishardim Es Ha'adim El Hashleimus. During the month of Tishrei, this is a very strong time. It's very, very strong, and it straightens a person to completeness. Which means, as we know, there's no other month of the year which are as packed as this time that are as packed as this time, that have as many Yomim Tovim as this time, and that straighten a person, that try to get a person on the right track and on the right path more than this time. The Ralbag also says this as well. He brought the Aaron Bris Hashem from Ir David to bring it to the Kodesh Kadashim. And this, remember then, and this is during the month of Yerech HaYisanim, month of Tishrei, during the Yom Tif of Sukkot. And why is it called Yerech HaYisanim? Ki bo ha'ma'adim hayoyser chazakim hayoyshim misharim el hashleimus. It's a time when everything's straight, everything's better. So we clearly see both from the Ralbag as well as the Metzudas David that this is a time, it's a very strong month spiritually. very, very strong. There's a tremendous amount of avoda involved. This is a derech pshat. Now, there's another Gemara in Rosh Hashanah as a side point. Gemara in Rosh Hashanah and Yud Aleph talks about how Rabbi Eliezer says that Tishrei the Avos were born. That's why it's called the Yerech HaYisanim. Rabbi Yeshua says, how do you know that it was Nisan that they were born? And then he says, it says, Yerech HaYisanim. So he says, Hasim Tekiv Mitzvah. So there's a Gemara on this a little bit also, just be pointed out. Now, there's a Seder HaAvodah during this month. Right? This month begins, as we know, from Rosh Hashanah, which one of the Ikra Avodas of the days to be Mamlech Hashem, to make Hashem king. Because this is when Hashem is really a melech over the whole world. He's judging us for everything. So we have to be Misoyre B'tshuva out of fear, right? The idea of Rosh Hashanah is it's the kufa of tshuva miyira, which is a whole discussion in and of itself. I'll call upon him. We have to do tshuva when we hear the sound of the shofar. Like the Rambam writes, Uri yeshenim mishenaschem v'nerdam hekitzim to we have to awaken from our slumber. So this avodah continues throughout the Aseret Simei Tshuva up until Sukkes. Up until Yom Kippur. There's a whole Seder of the month. Now after the right? After we have 4 days of preparation after Yom Kippur till Sukkos. We couldn't hear you, David. You want to repeat that?
No, I thought, didn't we say, some people didn't say up until Hanukkah, right?
Well, push-up shot.
Anyways.
At least the element of the Tshuva Meira is until Yom Kippur. Now, after Yom Kippur, we have 4 days of preparation for Sukkos. Right? We all leave our nice houses, our set structures, and we go and we sit in temporary shack-like structures under the shade of Amunah, Seled Mihemnusa. We take our Daled Minim with us as well, which symbolize that we know that we were victorious with our Din V'cheshvan, right? Like the Veikur Rabbah discusses. And then we have a Simcha. We have a Simcha for 7 days, and then on that last day, it's a Simcha Yesayra. Simcha's Beis HaShoeva, the Rambam talks about how there's no Simcha like it. The Yerushalmi and Sukkah discusses that they would, Simcha's Beis HaShoeva, Shoeva Maloshan Shoev, they would draw Ruach HaKodesh. We say Hoshanana until the end, Chsimas HaGadol, which is what you're saying before, Hoshana Rabbah, which is really when we have a completion of the 21 days, Chof Aleph, Yemei Libun V'Kapara, days that we already atoned, like the Maharsha discusses, which is a whole piece in and of itself. So this Tekufa ends all with Shmini Atzeres. There's a special love. Hashem says, Kasha alai pridaschem, it's difficult for me to part from you. And we say Nagila v'nismecha bach, we're rejoicing b'cha b'soyrasecha b'shosecha in the Torah of Hashem, in the salvations. So we see that we have a whole cycle over here. We finish the Torah, as we know, we have a whole cycle. We dance, Simchas Torah, v'chulu v'chulu, we have a whole cycle. So this is the Seder Avodah, which makes a person straight and makes a person complete, more than any other month of the year. And therefore, this month is called Yerech HaYisanim. The explanation of the Ralbag as well as the Mitzudas David. However, there's an obvious question on the order, on this order. Let's ask ourselves a question. The Avodah of this month is L'chayra Shaloi Keseder. Seemingly, we have an out-of-order arrangement over here. Because there's a general rule with Avodas Hashem. The Seder Avodah is always in a way of Aliyah. We always want to go up. We always want to go up. We want to increase. We go up this spiritual ladder, and we go from one rung, and we keep going higher and higher, and we keep elevating higher and higher up, until we're up to Shemayim, like we know from Sefer Bereshis. So the question is, what's the idea over here? It seems like Yom Kippur will be the best time. That's Yom Kippur is when we reach the level of Malchi Hasharis. I mean, a lot of the actions that we do, we don't eat, we stand on our feet, we wear kittel, right? We do a lot of things like Malchim Baruch Shem Kibbutz Malchus Olam right out loud. So it seems like Yom Kippur should be at the end. It would be fitting that Yom Kippur is the culmination and ends this strong month, this strong spiritual month. Even though the truly avoida of Sukkes is a very chosheva and lofty and high avoida, nevertheless, when we're at the level of Malchi Asharis and Yom Kippur, isn't that the highest level? Why then is Sukkah at the end of Yom Kippur? So that's basically his whole question. He has a whole piece on this. Talks about it. Aaron Cutler also discusses this as well. He actually has a kash over here. The Torah writes, "Ubasur lachodesh hashvi hazeh." The 10th of the 7th month, this month. And then it says Ubechamisha Asar Yoim Lachodesh Hazeh. On the 15th of the 7th month. It's referring to Sukkot, of course. So Chazal and the Torah's Kohanim discuss why does it say Hazeh this month? There's no other 7th month. Why does it say Hazeh this month? So the Torah is writing Hazeh to teach us that this is a order, like we're saying. There's a shalshelis, there's a chain over here, and there's rungs on the ladder, like we said before. The Yom Kippur is specifically after Rosh Hashanah. Sukkes is specifically after Yom Kippur, and the Iker is the main priority is over here. In order to ascend and to reach a high level of simcha with avodas Hashem, there needs to be a certain order. So that's why it says Hazeh. But he doesn't explain. Rabbi Aaron Cutler doesn't explain. How is the avodah of Chag Sukkos after Yom Kippur considered higher? So the answer to this question is as follows. This was all an introduction thus far. So the answer to this question is as follows. This madrega of the avodah of Sukkos is a continuation from the Aliyah on the days of the and this period that we have. Even after we reach the level of Malchi Asharis on Yom Kippur, still there's a level that's even higher. Hard to believe, but it is. Chaim Volozhin writes in Nefesh Chaim, he says, there's one way that we're better than Malachim. And that's the ability to tie the worlds together. Malach can't do that. Only we are able to tie the worlds together. So we see that there's an idea of us being even higher than Malachim. That only we could tie the worlds together through our avodah. That's what he discusses. Now, we have something else as well. We have the ability to bring the Shekhinah, right? Which basically means that we're able to turn Gashmi into Ruchni. We're able to bring Kedusha down here on planet Earth. But there's something else that we have as well. Our ability to bring the Shekhinah down here to planet Earth. The ability to bring the Shekhinah down here to planet Earth. That's an amazing thing. That only we are able to do. So there's a Rashi. There's a Rashi on Bereshis who says, when Yitzchak was older, his vision became bad, the pasuk says. When he came on the Mizbeach and his father, Avram Avinu, wanted to shecht him, at that time, the Shamayim opened up and the Malachim were crying. And their tears fell down on his eyes. And that's why his eyes it was difficult for Yitzchak Avinu to see. So why did the Malachim cry? They should have been besimcha at the Mesiras Nefesh that Yitzchak had. Why then were they crying? According to what we explained, we could answer this question easily. This Maisa of the Akedah, the whole Akedah Yitzchak, Avram brought the Shekhinah down to planet Earth. And through him, Har Moriah was going to be the Har, the holiest of the mountains. Kal Yisrael would bring their Kabbanos there, Lirech, Nechayach, aka Avram brought HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah down here to planet Earth. So the Malachim realized that they didn't have this ability. And it was only given the B'nai Adam, to mankind. So therefore they cried. They cried because they weren't Zoicha for such a madrega, because they realized Va'aretz Nasim B'nai Adam. that the lamb was given to us. That's why they cried. Fascinating idea. Very fascinating idea. Based on this, we could explain why the avoid of Sukkes, why Sukkes comes after Yom Kippur. The Bear Hativ writes a very cryptic Bear Hativ, which I remember years ago we learned. And like, what's the pshat in this? In Siman Tafrei Shlamates, we have recordings on that. He brings a Mahari Vial who says, someone who's Makayim the mitzvah of Sukkah, ki unasa shutaf l'kadosh baruch hu b'maisa bereshis. It's as if a person becomes a partner in the creation of the world with Hashem. What does that mean? Just because a person builds and sits in a sukkah, mamish a shutaf in kadosh baruch hu b'maisa bereshis. What's the hezber over there? What's the pshat over there? You're a partner now with the Eibishter? There's a few mahalchim on this. One idea over here is that when a person sits in a sukkah, when he fulfills the mitzvah of sukkah, he brings the Shekhinah down to the planet Earth. So it's considered a mishkan. The sukkah is considered a mishkan and a mikdash. Rasuli mikdash v'shachanti b'soicham. That's why Chazal and Sukkah and Daf say that Shem Shamayim, the name of Shamayim, falls on the sukkah itself, because the mitzvah of sukkah, we bring down the kedusha and the Shekhinah on the sukkah. So that's the Bear Hativ. If a person is Makayim the mitzvah of sukkah, he's nasa, he becomes a shutaf to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. The esber in that is because Chazal say in the Medrash Tanchuma, portions also that when Hashem created the world, he had a desire, he had an urge that he could dwell down here, just like how he dwells in the Elyonim, in the oil, right? So the idea over here that the world was created so that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will now have a place to live and a dir tachtonim. It's like second house. You have a second house. Why have to go to another place you want to be? So to Hashem lahavdil alpha of dalus. So if a person is being Makai in the mitzvah of Sukkah, he becomes a shutaf to Hashem, because through the mitzvah of Sukkah, he's bringing the Shekhinah down here and he's fulfilling the Ikler Tachlis, the main reason for the creation of this world, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will have a dwelling place down here on planet Earth. That's the idea over here. A beautiful and amazing idea. Yeah. Now, another shot why the Malachim cried, brings in the footnote from Meir Zvi Bergman, is because they cried because you see how a low person how high he could reach, who has a Bechir, who has free will, that he can mamish be moish nefesh for a Kiddush Hashem. And they realized that they don't have that ability. They were crying because of that. Same idea. So with this, we could understand why Sukkos is after Yom Kippur. After we reach the levels of Malachim, true, we're at a very, very high level on Yom Kippur like Malachim. But even after that Madriga, there's even a higher Madriga. That's a Madriga that's higher, and a special Kayach that's only given to mankind, which is the ability to bring the Shekhinah down here to planet Earth, and to be Koiveya, to establish a Kedusha that will be set, a fixed, set Kedusha, similar to the Kedusha of the Beis HaMikdash. And therefore, Sukkot is afterwards, because after we bring the Shekhinah over here, and we're Koveya, we establish that Kedusha of Hashem on planet Earth through the mitzvah of Sukkah. That's a higher Madriga than even Malachim. A Malach is a Shliach Hashem, right? And he fulfills his task why he was sent here. But us, we have an even higher task. We're Zocha to be a Shutaf. We're not just a Shliach Ba'alma. We're not just a mere messenger. We are Mamash, a partner of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the creation of the world. Amazing idea. So therefore, when we do what we're supposed to be doing over here, when we do our different masim, mitzvahs, Torah, v'chulu, tefillah, so we're being makayim the tachlis habriya, the creation of everything, right? AKA to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the tachtoinim. So that's basically the beautiful idea of why we're a shutaf. It's even a higher level. Amazing idea. So that's the idea over here. So we see how much it's placed upon us to contemplate this fact, and that we have such a high level that we're shutaf, even higher than a malach. We're shutaf of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and that our actions could even reach higher spiritual statuses than even malachim themselves. And this doesn't just apply by Sukkos. This really applies the entire year, anytime. Anytime we're involved with an avodah, right? And Kedusha is there. It's a very high level. Like the Ramchal writes in his Mesilas Yesharim, Ish kazeh hu atzmu nechshav kemishkan kemikdash kemizbeach. That's basically in a nutshell, summary of this piece of why the order is in this way and Sukkot is after, because our ability to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu down here is even higher than Malach on Yom Kippur, because they don't have that ability, and then we'll become a shutuf, because that's the tachlis of the whole bria to begin with. We're not just a shliach ba'alma. A beautiful idea on the hashkafas of the lineup of all these Yom Tovim. So that being said, everyone should have ksiva chsima tova and a good bench yard.
A good event, sure.
Good stuff.